Podcasting from Astrolab Studios, this is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows that have faded from the collective consciousness and didn't quite make the impact that they intended. This week, Westworld, episodes 3 and 4.
It always gets down to it, doesn't it? What's in it for me? A home, General. A place where I can continue my work unmolested, and at the same time, the opportunity of serving a man of your caliber as advisor, providing you with counsel, scientific knowledge, and of course, the total and loyal support of my robots. I am speaking of absolute power.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Continuum Drag for more Beyond Westworld. I'm Luke, here with your friend and mine, Jordan.
Hey.
How's it going, Jordan?
Pretty good.
I've been doing a little bit of looking into Westworld, so I could give us a little segment here about a notable Beyond Westworld cast and crew.
Oh, really?
I mean, not a lot of people, obviously. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I didn't see anything notable in what I looked at.
But I did find a little bit. Most of the people are hardworking. Like, they all have had long careers. Everyone involved in this, like, on every level. It just maybe not a lot of notable work, maybe. But I did find a little bit of notable work for us here, so let's get into it.
Okay.
One is the writer. He actually has a story by credit on one of the episodes, Darren Caron. I believe that was how you pronounce it.
Great name.
He'd be notable to us for he wrote a quarter of Tech War.
Really?
4 episodes of Tech War.
Oh, which ones? Did we watch them all?
We didn't watch 2 of his 4, but we did watch 2 that he did. Deadline, where Winger needs to find his CRU.
Oh, yeah, okay. That one wasn't terrible, I guess.
And Alter Ego, the one where...
Oh, yeah, she switched... Two personalities?
No, I think that's the one where the Tech Lord has his AI Tech Lord to break him out of prison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one with the AI who takes over.
And the AI has superpowers for some reason.
Yeah, and they go into the Matrix and fight him. Yeah, he wrote those too.
Oh, how about that? I'm glad we're always talking about Tech War, no matter what.
He's an all-star to us. He's a big deal for us.
Yeah, big deal.
The other writer who is of note was Steve Greenberg.
Okay.
He co-wrote with 2 other people the final episode we'll watch next week. But he is most known for writing the song Funky Town.
Whoa, that is something notable.
Yeah, it was for his band Lips Inc.
That's who did it, huh? Lips Inc?
Lips Inc.
Lips.
2 P's.
Oh, nice. That's rock and roll
very,
there.
Very rock and roll. But yeah, he wrote the song Funky Town, and he wrote next week's episode.
Oh, wow. That's something to look
exciting.
forward to. Now, do you think that song's going to get used in the episode?
Oh, they couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford it? I thought maybe they'd be double dipping on him.
Here's a fun little thing, which you probably won't believe. The pilot to Westworld was nominated for 2 Emmys.
I did see that. And it must be technical Emmys, right?
1 for art direction,
Right.
and 1 for makeup.
Okay, I could see that. Art direction, though, really?
Yeah, art direction. I mean,
They were like, more brown on everything.
but of the 2 makeup guys, one of them, it was noteworthy. A man named John Chambers. He received an honorary Academy Award for his makeup in Planet of the Apes. He's also known for creating Spock's pointy ears.
Oh, really? Well, someone got credit specifically for the ears?
I mean, that's what he's known for. One of those things he's known for is having created the pointy ears for Spock. The other thing he is known for...
To be fair, he was never going to make the ears pointy down. Like, his lobes were never going to be pointy.
That's an interesting idea.
There's a new Star Trek alien
down.
right there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what the Romulan should have had. The Romulan should have had ears facing down, and the
because they're the opposite of
they're
of Spocks. What are they called?
Vulcans,
right?
Of Spocks.
He's notable for one other small thing. He was awarded the CIA's Intelligence Medal of Merit.
Wow, what is that?
It was for his role in the Canadian caper as best characterized in the film Argo, where he was played by John Goodman.
Oh, really?
He was one of the key people in the attempt to break out the Americans from Iran who were being harbored in the Canadian embassy when Iran kind of shut the borders after America.
And what did he do in this show?
He did the makeup. He's the makeup artist on the show.
Well, that's a big change in a career.
Yeah, he set up a fake production company with a CIA agent and sort of developed the idea of the movie happening and held big parties and did variety press releases to make it look real so that they could go in and pull these guys out. And of note, that whole caper, that Canadian caper, resolved with them getting out on January 27th, 1980, 2 months before this show comes out. So he's prepping this show to do makeup in while he is also working with the CIA.
Well, bravo, sir. Well done.
John Chambers, he is the high point of the show for sure.
Oh, I think you're right. I think he probably must be the most competent person that worked on the show, too.
I mean, no one else has a CAA award.
That's true.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's it. But
2 Emmys, though.
two nominations.
Two nominations.
That's it for notable stuff. But I thought that
no,
was
you know what?
good.
Funky Town and Freeing Prisoners. Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
What did you ever do, Shatner? We know what he did.
Great. You want to get into the episodes?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Beyond Westworld Episode 3, Sound of Terror. In order to construct an atomic weapon, Quaid steals uranium from a nuclear power plant. Meanwhile, Moore and Williams attempt to identify the rock band member, who is actually an android.
One thing to start with, I think we mentioned it in the last episode, but these little mini trailer cold opens, they really give everything away.
Oh,
you could honestly just watch, what are they? They're like 30, 45 seconds. You could watch that and go, that's the show. That's pretty much it.
They ruin the episodes because they play in chronological order of the episode. So you really know every beat to what you're about to watch.
Yeah. It's a nice idea because it kind of gets you excited about what you're going to see, but they give everything away.
It sucks
weird.
The fun out of these episodes.
Right. And I'll say both these episodes we're going to watch, including this one, celebrity sighting.
Oh, I know the one in this one, I think. But
I knew you're not going to know the second one, so that's a little fun for
very
later.
Exciting tease.
So should we mention it right off the bat, who the fun person is? We'll get there?
I'll lay in kind of where the episode starts off, which is at a rock band concert.
Outside of a nuclear plant.
Yeah, outside of a nuclear plant where they're having an anti-nuke protest, and the band playing is apparently extremely popular music act, Power and Ruth.
Yeah, and let me just say something about Power and Ruth. They don't look like a cohesive band at all. In that they don't look like a real band. They look like they were just thrown together by someone who's maybe never seen a band before. Like, it's like, what does a band look like? I don't know. You have Metallica and Cyndi Lauper with Sting, right? That's the look of the band. It's like, no, those people don't look alike. Like, one guy had a handkerchief, another guy's wearing an all-leather outfit, and one guy had a tambourine. It's just, they look stupid.
Well, let me ask you, how many members of this band would you estimate there are?
I don't know, like 18? There was so many of them, right?
There was at least 5, but I think it could have been as many as like 8 to 10.
Yeah, there was a lot. And again, they were all very desperate. There wasn't...
Well, you mentioned the handkerchief. Like, one of the band members is wearing an ascot.
Yeah.
We'll see an extra in an ascot. John Moore is going to dress up in an ascot.
This show has a tremendous amount of ascots.
It's amazing. I've never seen so many. I didn't know like 1979, 1980 was the prime time for that.
Yeah, there was some guy who had like a company on ascots, and he's just looking at his chart, and it's going up and up every year. He's like, guys, ascots. And then, 1982 hits, and he's on Skid Row, just injecting himself in his vein in between his toes because it's the last one available. And he's just like, ascots, what did you do to me? Right? Probably.
Sounds like a great sketch.
Yeah.
It's a weird costume choice, that's for sure. They keep coming back to it. So I have to assume that was the fashion at the time, right?
No. Let me just say though, if you're a band and you're doing one of these like charity concerts or protest, do you generally do it right at the place? Like, you're like, let's free Tibet. That was a big concert, but like they didn't go to Tibet to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I guess it's.
Do you don't think it's weird? I thought it was weird. I know why they have to protest right outside this, because it becomes the plot point that someone in the band is possibly stolen like nuclear missiles or whatever.
They've stolen uranium.
But I just thought that was weird. Is that what people do? People protest at the place?
I think so. I think that's.
I guess
something
there's
you
people who
could
chain
do.
themselves to trees.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Is they're like out there causing trouble for the nuclear power plant. And you're right. The whole plot is we see a shot inside the nuclear power plant for 2 seconds where a loudspeaker is announcing that uranium has been stolen. And
yeah, they're just like, two of them are missing. And then you just see a thing and there's clearly two missing.
Yeah, and then they cut back to behind the trailer tractor that they are performing on, and someone's cut a hole in the fence, so like someone in the band is...
Yeah, the old classic, just cut the fence to the
the nuclear power plant.
That's it. That was the only security they had.
So easy. So silly. But yeah, I guess these are the celebrity sightings, is the band. Power, who is the lead name in this, but doesn't seem to be the lead of this band at all. He could be any other person in this band.
But he really gives it. He gives it everything. He's maybe giving it too much, don't you think? Like, every scene where he's playing guitar, he's at 11. If he's playing keyboards, he's at 11. Like he's never not giving 110%.
Well, it's because he's a special guest star, Rene Auberjonois.
Of course, it's Odo.
Odo from Deep Space Nine.
And you can't not recognize him because no matter who he plays, like he just looks like Odo, doesn't he? Every time I see him show up in older movies or anything now, it's just Odo.
I will say he looks the youngest I've ever seen him.
Right, but he always looks like...
Yeah, he's got that face.
Yeah, like as a kid, he looked like Odo.
And he's got long hair and a beard this time. So he's kind of, he's doing something. It's the most handsome I've ever seen him look.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean, that's not saying a lot, but he like looks young and vibrant, I guess.
Right.
And then the other member of the band, Ruth, I don't know if you'll know this. I had to look it up, but it was interesting. Ronnie Blakely.
I don't know who that is. She a real singer?
She wrote and sang all the songs in the episode.
Okay. Let me just say right off the bat, it drove me crazy. There was way too much singing. And I knew she must be a real singer because there's extended sequences of just them singing. And then you'll go to a bit of dialogue and come back to more singing. I was like, guys, enough. I don't care about this band. And they're always like, everyone are really into it. And I was like, there's no one into these songs.
Well, I mean, they may have given that so much time because she's also an Oscar-nominated actress.
Really?
For her supporting role in Robert Altman's Nashville.
Oh, you know what? I've never actually seen Nashville.
So, like, she's a pretty big get for this show.
Right. And I just didn't know who she was. Well, I mean, good for them. And then we say, oh, no, this is the last episode that aired, right?
Yeah.
And this didn't keep them on the air.
Couldn't pull it out of the nosedive.
Anyways, there's way too much singing. Sorry, what's her name? Lucy?
Ronnie.
Ronnie, yeah, it's too much singing. It's about robots, not singing.
Singing robots.
Yeah, it's singing robots, but bring on the robots.
From this point, we kind of jump into what I would say has to be the fastest setup to this show yet. Like under 5 minutes for sure. They cut to North Africa where we learn Quaid is going to give a nuclear bomb to some North African despot general who wants to be like a strong man in his country with a nuke bomb.
Yeah.
Good enough.
NB, as the kids say.
And then they cut immediately to Delos, where they put it all together before we get there. They're like, he stole uranium. He used the band to do it. He's going to sell this nuclear bomb.
Yeah,
to
they
North
always
Africa.
jump to what would not be your first guess as to what happened. Like, well, it must be one of the band members must be a robot who broke into the nuclear facility because they were playing. I was like, whoa, why would you think that's? But they always say that they're like, well, it must just be a robot. And everyone goes, okay.
It takes less than 5 minutes to get through that. And it ends with it. We've got to infiltrate the band. I'm like, that's the only solution.
And let me just say, I think it happens later on where you hear Quaid's reasoning and you might have written it down, but it's a long way for him to go. So he has nuclear power, but he wants to give it to someone so he gets in power so that maybe the guy's indebted to him or that guy allows him to run rampant and have his headquarters. It's just like, this is a long way to go for all this work. They always have to make his plans way more convoluted than they need to be.
Yeah, he just wants a safe haven. That's it. He just wants a country he can go hang out in. So that's the deal. I give you a nuclear bomb. You let me hang out here.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a good great plan. So this brings them to a big concert that Power and Ruth are putting on.
Yeah.
Moore's like snooping around with a Geiger counter trying to find the uranium, which they have just said could only have been stolen by a robot because it's so radioactive that it would kill a human being. And he's literally picking up he finds the empty canisters on the bus and he's picking them up. He's looking inside. I was just like...
and what's her face? Pam Pam says at one point, one thing I noticed, it's been about 3 episodes in a row now where someone calls and just gives information. I don't know if you noticed that. They always have to like take a phone call, and like, no matter where they are, someone knows how to call them.
This was my favorite part of the episode, I think, is when they get that phone call.
When they're at the concert?
At the concert, because I'm like, oh, is this what happened before cell phones? Some guy just walks around backstage asking for Williams or more. Williams or more, you've got a phone call.
You got a phone call. She does say one funny thing, though. Pam says, while she's watching the concert, it's weird standing here listening to rock music knowing that the state could blow up in one big mushroom. I was like, hey, Debbie Downer, everyone's at a concert here, you know?
She got to keep it real for everybody. Yeah. As our concert wraps up, John and Pam are waiting for them to get off the stage, and they introduce themselves as the new public relations people for the band. And John even Moore's even like, ask your manager, which no one ever does. It really does feel like they've just shown up and they're like, yeah.
Well,
we're supposed to be here.
It's a super flimsy cover that no one calls them on. Can you imagine just showing up backstage and being like, hey, I'm your PR person, and they go, all right. Also, a couple things. One, when John and Pam show up, the 2 band members are having a very loud personal conversation. They're having a fight about their marriage and how it has to do with the band.
Power,
And what I love is John and Pam could not be any more than 2 feet away standing there, but they do their whole fight, and then John says something, and they turn around and they're like, oh, I didn't see you there. It's like, how did you not see him? He was literally standing directly beside you the entire time you're having this conversation.
Well, really, before John even talks, Pam just starts taking photos of them mid-marital spat.
That's right. Yeah.
It was. I was like, "That's very."
They told them they're spent so much time with robots, they don't know how humans work.
They don't know behaviors of humans anymore.
But let's just say, so they pretend to be PR people, but this doesn't make sense about their cover. You would assume at this point, Quaid would have let all his robots know what John and Pam look like, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So the robots should spot them right away. But they never. If they do, they never do anything or reveal themselves or make any move towards them at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would think like one of them would go, no, you're not.
Oh, right. Just call them out for their bullshit.
Them out. Like, you're not the PR guy.
You know what? That's a good plan, actually. I hadn't considered it, but that's a much better plan than anything that's been done so far.
Right. Anyway, just saying.
I'm literally going to skim past probably 20 minutes of this episode right now because they go through the motions here. They take Ruth out and start asking, hey, is anyone in your band acting weird or something?
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, have you guys not come up with a better plan of how to spot these robots
That's
yet?
how they do it every episode.
It's the same thing they do every episode. There's a great shot, a nice product placement piece where they go up to the Ramada Inn they're staying at. I did see that. Ramada inside. I'm like...
There's one, we could probably cut this, but there's one funny line where the 2 main band people have like three or four fights through the course of the episode, and at one point the her point about why she's unhappy is he wants everything too extreme, and she just wants to settle in life, and she says to him, she mentions like 3 things that he's always doing that are too extreme, and she goes skydiving, racing ski boats, and then she says tobogganing. And I thought, like, how extreme is tobogganing? It's like, you know what? Enough of this extreme, snow fort making. It's like, that's not extreme at all. Tobogganing. Like, children do that on little magic carpets.
I mean, we're not going to get into it. That's the whole premise of these 2 characters is they're a married band couple, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're not getting along right now. By the end of the episode, they'll be back together.
Yeah.
But it's such a minor plot. Like, it doesn't affect the plot in
There's
any
no
way,
point.
shape, or form.
It just kills time.
They just come back and they fight occasionally. It's so weird. But yeah, that sort of happens around this hotel too, where again, they don't have a plan. Like when they're at the hotel, Williams is now just walking around the rooms with the Geiger counter trying to pick up the nuclear or the uranium that's missing. So she's walking around. And did you catch these lines between them at the hotel?
What was that?
Williams is like, got the Geiger counter. She's been looking around and she says, well, I can't find the uranium. I've been through every guy's room.
I do remember this.
To which Moore replies, and you still look fresh as a daisy. Like, just implying the worst thing about her.
Yeah, I think we mentioned in the last episode, there are certain things that really let you know the time period that a show is made, and the casual sexist comments and sort of
I mean,
like jokey put downs of the female characters.
Williams should call HR. Dallas HR should be on the phone immediately.
She's like, John can't go 5 minutes without making some sort of off sexual
Some
comment.
sort of crude remark about me doing my job.
Yeah. But do you think she slept with all the band members? To you and me. She probably did, right?
Well, she'd know who the robot was, right?
Right. Yeah.
So no. The answer's no.
No, she didn't. All right. Oh, one quick thing. Let me just before you go on. I don't know if John was supposed to be in character or it was just his outfit, but did you notice the shirt he put on at one point? He's wearing like a cowboy shirt, like cowboy style shirt that has on each shoulder a horseshoe. And then he's wearing that like cravat or whatever again. And I was like, is he in character as a PR man or is this actually the fashion he decided? That's the outfit he decided to wear for the day.
Well, let me put it this way. I thought he had just stolen the look from the robot at the oil rig from the last episode, who was also
he
dressed
did look similar to that, didn't
exactly the same as that.
he? Yeah.
To that point, though, I think he's being a character, and this comes up much, much later when John Moore calls Power to warn him about a robot. He picks up a phone and calls him, and Power's like, "What? Who's this? John Moore? What happened to your accent?"
What was that?
He doesn't have an accent at all.
Was the actor doing an accent and it just was so subtle and bad that no one heard it? Or was that like a line left over from something and no one cared to catch it?
That's what I'm wondering is, I guess he was dressed in an outfit. Maybe he thought he was putting on an accent to play. Like
Right.
he was like in character as this publicist. And clearly somewhere in the script, the idea was he would fake an accent.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they just shot that scene first. And then he's like, I'm not doing the accent.
Maybe. That's funny though. I do remember that.
It was just really like, so I think maybe to your point, I think he is trying to be like, the idea is like, oh, he's in character.
Right, okay.
But they clearly abandoned that concept very quickly
Right.
because that last line of the episode makes no sense.
Anyways, we digress. Where are we at right now in the show?
Essentially, we've gone through the motions. They've looked around for a robot. They've gotten nowhere. We finally get to see this roadie named Ryder is making the encasement for the bomb that the uranium is going to go into, which is weird because like he's not like, why would he know this? He seems to just have like IKEA instructions for how to build an atomic bomb.
Yeah. Is he the guy that looks like and should be played by Thomas Hayden Church?
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. All right. I get that one. I get that reference.
Yeah, great.
That's pretty good. He could easily be done that. He's been hired by Quaid. And as soon as he's done building the bomb, Quaid tells him, like, all right, now go stab more.
Right.
Because his plan is always just to send someone to, like, very bluntly kill more in the, like, most awkward fashion.
And he mentioned right from the beginning, episode 1, what's his name? Quaid likes robots because they're so effective. And he can't even fathom how John could have beaten that one by sticking his hand in water. But the robots are terrible. Their kill count so far is 0. They never accomplish anything. So it's like these robots are actually kind of crappy.
Well, in this case, the robot, Ryder tries to stab John, and he just stabs a power box instead and is electrocuted.
Yeah, it's a funny scene.
But counter to your point about robots, they go to the hospital.
This is the best.
And they talk to the doctor, and they're like, was there anything unusual about that man who was electrocuted?
Yeah.
And the doctor says, he looked like any other human being I've ever seen electrocuted.
Yeah, and then I like John goes, I'd like to take a look at the body, and the doctor's like, all right. Like you imagine showing up to a hospital, you have no credentials, you're not a government official, you're not a police officer. She's like, I'd like to see the body, and the doctor's like, yeah, sounds good to me. It's my lunch break. What do I care?
Sure, why not?
Want to see his penis? Like it's weird.
It's really weird. And to this point, Ryder is a human that Quaid is hired. I'm like,
yeah, I know. It doesn't make any sense.
Why?
It's one of their famous red herrings that don't think about too much because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Other than it's just to throw you off. And it's like, but why? I don't know.
Why couldn't there have been 2 robots in the band?
No, but they couldn't possibly be 2 robots.
That's too crazy. Yeah, so we're kind of now get the final reveal. Now that we know he's not the robot, the show reveals to us who was the android the whole time. And it is a random guy who is in the band who maybe we saw earlier.
I was going to say, I'm almost positive, for one, This guy's had no dialogue and has not been featured in any scenes. At best, he may have been in the background, but I don't even think he was.
Yeah.
Because would you not have spotted him? His distinguishing feature is he wears hilarious big red ruby heart sunglasses.
Yeah, he's got huge heart sunglasses. Yeah, he only shows them in the last 10 minutes. Fun fact about the heart sunglasses, it's because his robot eyes have a design flaw, so he has to wear them.
I know. That was probably my favorite thing of the episode was that he's got a design flaw, so they're still going to put him out into the field. And what are they going to do? Like, give him cool sunglasses? Like, give him some Ray-Bans? No. Give him these ridiculous Janis Joplin-esque sort of sunglasses. Like, why would you ever do that?
It's so silly. Anyway, he now exacts the plan because he's got the bomb inside of his body. The robot has had the bomb installed in his body.
Yeah.
So he's going to transport it to North Africa by kidnapping Ruth and hijacking the band's personal jet.
Now let me mention something about the jet. So this is where the next action takes place. But you notice they're at one point they're getting ready to get on the plane, and I don't know what anyone's name is. Susie, the woman who's in the band.
Ruth and Power.
Yeah. Anyway, who cares? Ruth is like, guys, it's time to get on the flight, and she's going around. But then when we actually get to the flight, it's just Ruth and Power. None of the rest of the band is on this private plane, and you can clearly see because you can see all the seats.
Well,
except for old Janis Joplin glasses.
I do think, to be fair, it is because the robot kidnaps her from the hotel before anyone's ready to leave.
Oh, you think so?
Well, because the robot also beats up Pam at the hotel.
Oh, that's right. Well, Pam is really pretty useless once again. They don't know what to do with this character, so they just knock her out. So she's
Constantly.
not there.
She's constantly knocked out.
Yeah, she's gonna have to go to the doctor. That doctor who will just let anyone look at her when she's knocked out.
You said this last time about Quaid and his plans. I think you called his last plan a madman's plan.
Okay.
This one, more than ever, I was like, this is an insane plan.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna pitch you a better plan. It still uses Quaid's basic concept.
Do it.
Okay, you use the band to still break in and steal uranium. Clearly, that went fine. Good plan, that part. Just have the robot pass the uranium off to another robot. He builds the bomb. That robot then replaces an international pilot who has to go to North Africa anyway, and then you fly the bomb over there. Why on earth are you hijacking a band's plane that has no reason to go to North Africa? Like, it doesn't make any sense how this plan was ever going to come together.
No, I know. It's got all the problems if you saw the script and you're like, oh, this script has all the problems that you would normally see with like a first draft, but they didn't fix them. They just like, yeah, good to shoot.
This is as good as it's gonna get.
Who did we get? We got that woman from Nashville. Grab the film. Let's do this.
But you're right. The plane they're on, it's empty. Power is the pilot because he's such a daredevil. He flies the jet.
Of course, the guy who's in the band flies his own plane. Yeah. Come on, guys.
Makes perfect sense. He forces Power to leave. He's like, I've got your wife hostage. It's time for us to get out of here. I want you to fly us to North Africa. In the time it's taking him to, I guess, power up the plane, the doors don't close, more runs up somehow.
Yeah.
He climbs into the plane and the doors auto shut. And they get in a fight that lasts, what would you say, 30 seconds?
Yeah, well, what I like is one thing. He really wants to get the sunglasses off the guy, but it doesn't really hinder him at all.
No.
They have a fight. Yeah, you have a fight for maybe 30 seconds.
Conservatively, would you say 30 seconds, a minute maximum this fight happens?
Maximum.
While this fight's happening, they're intercutting with the plane taxiing down the runway.
Yeah.
It takes off. It flies over the city and flies out into the middle of the ocean. So in the course of this 30-second to a minute fight, they have traveled hundreds of thousands of kilometers.
Maybe it's in Boston. Maybe they're at Boston, right on the coast.
I guess so.
They're in Maine, right on the coast.
So close to the ocean.
Yeah.
It happens so fast.
Yeah. Well, so they have that really dumb fight with the robot, but it does have that funny scene where he's fighting and John pushes the door open with his foot.
Yeah, he depressurizes the plane by kicking the door open.
Yeah, and then the robot does the funniest backwards walk, like he's getting sucked in, but
slowest walk.
But it looks hilarious. It's like he's walking backwards and then grabs John's foot on the way out, and you're like, oh, the tension. Is he gonna pull him out? course he's not.
I wrote this down. Is this what John says when he kicks him out the door finally?
Bombs away.
He yells bombs away.
Yeah, he doesn't care that the guy is a nuclear bomb and could kill hundreds of thousands of people. He still has time for a nice quip.
Nice quip. At which point we get a nice shot of a mannequin falling through the air.
Yeah, they love the mannequins.
Which hits the water and then explode. Does the nuke go off? It explodes when it hits. I think the nuke goes off. I think John sets off the nuke in the middle of the ocean.
I know. So it's like, I saved everyone. You guys didn't like whales and fish, did you?
Just the fallout from that.
Yeah.
I mean, he, like you say, he can't be that far from that city.
No.
They've been in the air for 30 seconds.
Well, and of course, in the next episode, they mention how they killed everyone in the city. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it just starts on a newspaper article.
Yeah. If you thought the Westworld massacre was bad, see what Delos is up to this time.
And I mean, that pretty much wraps it. I mean, there's a tiny moment where we see that Ruth and Power have made up with each other, but nobody cares. And that kind of like wraps the episode up. That's it.
The episodes, this show wraps up way too fast every time. Like, they don't even have that usual, the post scene where they'll go back and they'll have a drink and then they discuss it and then they all have a laugh and a freeze frame. That never happens. It's like he kicks the robot out and he's like, bombs away. Da-na-na-na-na-na, shows over. You're like, what? It's over?
Yeah.
And it happened. This 3 episodes, they've all been like that.
It's really like the starts are so quick. This one was like less than 5 minutes from the get going. And then that really quick ending, like the middle part, that middle 30 minutes where nothing happens.
Yeah, this show had like 5 minutes of content.
It speeds to the beginning, speeds to the end, and it just lingers forever.
Yeah, so that's that. On to the next one.
Yeah, let's do the next one. Beyond Westworld, Episode 4, The Lion.
You think this was an accident? Somebody sabotaged that car and tried to kill you.
It doesn't make any difference what the reasons are.
You know, I don't believe you. You never ran away from a fight in your life.
I had legs to stand on before.
Oh, you had a lot of things to stand on. Look, if you don't care about anything else, think of Lion. Lion Star needs you to build that car.
The Delos team discovers Westworld electronics in the debris left after an experimental car is destroyed. Moore must discover if the explosion is part of Quaid's latest scheme.
I know. Again, he hears a car broke down. Must be robots. Why? Why would it must be robots? There's never been any of these cases so far that have signified, maybe the nuclear, stealing something from a nuclear site, but all the episodes, to think it's robots is a far-fetched guess at best.
I'll tell you.
Oh, there was a robbery. Must be a robot. Why?
There was one episode where that's how they figured it out.
Really? Which one was that?
The second episode where he knocks that cop over. He's like, oh, it must be a robot.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Here's my biggest letdown of this episode.
Uh-huh.
No robot lion. When I saw the episode was called The Lion, I was like, yes, there's going to be a robot
You're right.
lion
I didn't even think of that.
on the loose. It's going to be the greatest.
They do say the word lion way too many times in this episode.
Well,
they just say lion, lion, lion constantly.
Well, I'll get into that right now because the episode is about Lion Star Motors, run by the Lion family.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's name is Lion.
Yeah.
And they constantly are saying it. And I guess Lion Star Motors is a stock car company?
Yeah, it's
They've also invented, or they also created a gasohol engine?
Yeah, they're sort of kind of like they're like a Tesla type company. They're a somewhat futuristic car company that, for whatever reason, it's very important they showcase their car in a race without really testing it first, which is a terrible idea. But
Did you know what a gasohol engine was?
no, well, I just assumed it was a better engine, gasohol.
I googled that. I guess it's like gas and ethanol or something put together.
Oh, it's really a thing?
Apparently, I couldn't find a lot. I think maybe it was a thing that never really became a thing. I don't know, or maybe all of our gas is now gasohol, and I have no idea.
I just assumed it was like a like Romulan ale. It's like a not real thing, you know.
No, I think it is a real thing. I was not able to figure out much other than that.
We'll never talk about it again. Who cares?
It's true. Here's what I got very excited about in this episode, though, because we meet this family. They're testing this new engine in their race car, and they drive around the track a bunch of times, and there's a whole crew there. And at some point, they start, like, the patriarch is talking to the crew and talking about stuff, and he turns over and he says, like you, John. And John's part of the crew. And I was just like, oh,
I wasn't sure.
Is this episode starting, like, what's the term? Like in medias res or something? Like, has John already been placed undercover somewhere? Are we in the middle of the episode? It's like, oh, this is good. They're skipping the stuff they're bad at and putting us into place. No, they're just family friends of John. He's not there for any reason at all.
No, and this happens later on in the episode. He is just a family friend, but he sort of keeps interjecting himself. Like, he's someone that you don't really know that keeps showing up to, like, family barbecues and stuff. And, like, even at one part, him and Pam put on, like, their like mechanics outfits, and like John's working on the car and stuff. It's like, there's no way you know how to fix this car. Get out of here. Go search for robots. That's what you're quote unquote good at.
Yeah, it's really, this is John in his off time. Like, he is not on assignment right now. This is just who he hangs out with.
He hangs out with mechanics who make gasohol cars.
Anyway, they're watching the lead driver, Corey, testing the car out. He's driving around the track, pushing it to its limit.
Yeah.
And on the final track, it comes around the corner. They're like, all right, really push it now. And we've seen a lot of shots of this car driving around this track all the time. And as they say, push it, we cut back to the car on the same track as we have always seen. But now it's nighttime.
I know.
And the car explodes. And it cuts back daytime again where everyone else is.
I know. It was
what
really
happened there?
It was shockingly distracting.
They shot all this car footage, but didn't get around to blowing up the car until nightfall.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine. No one will notice.
I know. It was bad.
It cuts to what is quite clearly the middle of the night. And then back to daytime.
You know what? That's the thing. If they just had the rest of the scene be at night, you could have presumed that he was on the track for a very, very long time. But they kind of ruined it by going back to the day.
Yeah, it was a very funny cut. I mean, it really just speaks, I think, to probably why the show was canceled. Clearly, no one put a lot of trouble into the quality, and like, there's no quality control on the show.
Right. And I think this episode, maybe it's just because I knew this was one of the ones that hadn't aired. It felt like the quality of the show was already starting to drop from, let's be fair, not a terribly high mark to begin with.
I guess it's true. I mean, maybe they had a plan to go and try to like do some sort of color timing on it. There's a line later too where John's talking to one of the characters, and there's quite clearly an ADR, a badly laid in ADR line.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
It doesn't fit the scene at all. I think, and maybe that is just because these are episodes that never finished post. They're like, oh, this show's over.
Right.
Don't finish them. And then
that's the sense I got.
And then someone later was like, let's put this on DVD.
Yeah, I know. And then other people like us bought it. So let me just mention. So the guy, I don't know any character's name. So
driver.
Yeah, driver.
Corey.
Sure, Corey. He blows up. He ends up being paralyzed.
Yeah, he's paralyzed from the waist down from this explosion, which Quaid set off. Like, they find Westworld technology or some sort of thing. They basically find some sort of trademarked Westworld equipment in the car.
Yeah.
So they know Quaid blew it up.
And Pam says to John, because they're like, it's Quaid. And Pam says to him, she goes, you can't take this case, sort of implying that he's emotionally compromised. But what's funny is he's the only like robot investigator. That's what I'm calling him, by the way, is robot investigator.
I like it.
He's an RI. So she's like, you can't take the case. I was like, of course he is. He's the only one who can do it. Like, there's no other investigators. They brought him in specifically in the first episode, and all that rain, he was helicoptered in because he's the only one who could solve stuff.
You are right. There does not seem to be anyone else in that department that can do that.
Yeah. So when she was like, you can't take this case, I was like, oh, so you're just gonna let the Lion family.
But you know why he couldn't take
down?
it? He was supposed to go to assignment in the Middle East.
Oh, is that right?
They're like, you have an assignment in the Middle East you need to go to, and he's just like, no, I'm not going. I have to do this. And he like he kind of pitches a fit. And as he storms out of the office at Delos, I don't know if you noticed this, Delos doesn't have regular doors. It's sliding doors.
I
he
didn't notice.
Tries to slam a sliding door. He's like,
I didn't remember that.
It's real. I was like, wow, that's not dramatic at all.
Yeah, it is hard to slam a sliding door.
Poor Delos.
So old Skippy, what's his face? He gets
Corey.
paralyzed.
Corey's paralyzed. There's a bunch of actually. They're very dramatic, maybe overly dramatic, but I didn't hate them. Like the actor is actually doing an okay job.
I thought the same thing. He had very little to work with, and he was really giving it.
Because his character now, he's a race car driver for a living. He's been paralyzed from the waist down, and he's very distraught about it. And I actually was like, oh, this actor is really doing his best to dig some real emotion out of this place this character's in. I mean, in a thankless show for it, but
Yeah.
we have a good few scenes of drama around of him being dramatic about it, and it was good.
His wife says to him when he's in the hospital in one of these scenes where he's like, slag off or whatever he says. And she says to him, because he's upset because he's realized he's paralyzed, and she said, "I didn't fall in love with your arms and legs." And I thought, whoever says they fell in love with someone because their arms and legs? What a weird thing to say. And also, by the way,
He still got him.
I was gonna say, there's nothing wrong with his arms. I just said, what are you talking about? My arms are fine. She's talking. Anyways,
She just doesn't know what paralyzed from the waist
yeah,
down
she doesn't
means.
know what that means. But you can still dance, right?
It's at this point they kind of introduce, I guess, like Delos. Who knows how they figure anything out, but I guess they figured out that Quaid. Here, I don't entirely know what this means, but Quaid has been buying Lion Star's outstanding notes. Is that like debts? Is that
Yeah,
are they
it's
buying
debts.
its debts?
Yeah.
So he's been buying his debts. I guess the idea is he wants to, for them to go under, he'll own their debts and he'll be able to get their patent on the gasohol engine.
Yeah. This is his direct approach is when he bought the debts for the guy who was the brother of the oil company. It's just like this is so
the same.
convoluted.
It's the same plot. It's just like
Yeah.
last episode was about him trying to get a nuclear weapon, just like the pilot. These are the same plots. They've just the first two episodes are repeating now. They really don't have much. What I did find interesting though is part of his plan here is he wants this gasohol engine because they say he's already taken over several small oil producing countries in the Middle East.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they say Quaid has already done this. He's taken over countries. Like, he's already out
winning.
of control. Like, he's winning exponentially compared to you guys are trying to figure out why a car exploded. He's running countries, oil-producing countries now.
On a side note, they say that the car exploded because someone put part of the Delos machinery in the car, right? If they were able to do that, why didn't they just steal the engine? You know what I mean? If you have someone on the inside,
Just take it.
just take it.
Yeah,
I know why, because
he needs the patents. He needs the intellectual
yeah,
property.
exactly. They're like, wait a minute, I see you have this car. Do you have the ownership? No, not me, the robot.
Yeah, it's very silly. And I mean, the premise of this, they deduce, I guess, is because he owns all these oil producing countries now.
Yeah.
And if he gets this gasohol engine, what he's going to do is solve America's energy crunch so that people will like him.
Well, it's 1980, right?
It's in the middle of the oil crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to do some research. I'm like, is this when it was happening? Like, yeah, like it happened at the end of 79 into 80. So this is like happening at this moment. That's why they're so obsessed with oil on this show.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's a good plan. I like the plan of like, oh, I'm going to solve the oil crisis. Like, yeah, that would buy you a lot of goodwill.
Yeah, it's just the way he goes about things, you know?
But John's furious about that idea. Like, when that is posed as what his plan is, John like flips out and he says he's going to get Delos to bankroll Lion Star so that he can't take over. And I'm like, you're like what, the security chief, the RI?
I know. Who gave him authority to give? I assume thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands
of dollars to this company
Yeah.
that is apparently barely staying afloat. Like, it is insolvent. This company.
Yeah. He's personally said his company will give this other company a bailout.
Yeah,
Just because he's angry.
not his job.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this is his plan. There a bunch of stuff happens here. None of it matters. Like, a robot burns down the garage.
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. The patriarch has a heart attack. Also doesn't raise the stakes at all.
No. He just goes away.
It just never comes up again.
But a cameo is coming up very shortly.
Oh, well, hold on. Let me say, there's one more thing about this bad quality of the show that comes up here.
Okay.
They go back to the hospital. And I don't know if you've caught this, but Moore and Williams, John and Pam are having like a conversation together, and they're cutting back and forth between them. And it's a very dramatic conversation. But on John's shots, which they stay on him, his eyes are quite clearly looking at cue cards. He's looking at her, and he looks away to read the cue cards. And he looks back at her, and he looks away to look at the cue cards. And he looks back at her, like...
Oh, I didn't notice.
And it stays on him for a good 20 seconds, and his eyes are just darting back and forth between cue cards and her. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys.
They were feeling the budget crunch, maybe. Or maybe he's just not a very good actor.
It was rough. I feel like something terrible happened on this show in this third episode. Who's this cameo?
So I didn't think you would notice it, but as soon as the face came up, I was like, there's a guy who's with Quaid. And I was like, this face is familiar. And who it is Russell Johnson. I don't know if you know who Russell Johnson is, but he played the professor on Gilligan's Island. And he's like now Quaid's right-hand man or something. But I think he has maybe 2 lines at most.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he had any lines. So that's
He's
hilarious.
one of those actors where, because then I saw it and I looked it up and I was like, oh, is it him? And it is. And he's an actor who worked a lot. But the sad thing is, more often than not, he played the role of the professor in other shows. Like as a sort of gag. Like he'd show up on, Alf. And they'd answer the door and they're like, who is it? He's like, it's me. I just got off a boat. I'm the professor. Like that sort of like hacky cameo. The poor guy did it like at least 10 times in shows. I mean, I know it pays the bills, but at least on this he was playing something different. But soon as
are you sure he wasn't playing the professor?
He might have been the professor. That'd be great.
In a lab coat.
If this took place in the same world as Gilligan Island.
He was in a lab coat. He could have been a professor working for Quaid.
That's true. Anyways, I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I did not catch that at all. So now John basically says there's only one way to stop Quaid. At this point in the show, there's only one way to stop Quaid, and that's to go on with the race.
I know. They say that they're like, we have to. Even when he's bankroll, it's like, we have to. Just like, why?
You just saved the company. You gave it all the money to the company. You don't need to compete in this race now.
Yeah. Just keep looking for the robot. That's your job, John.
It doesn't make any sense. But it is in this moment that Corey, our driver, finds courage in himself, gets in his wheelchair, and comes back to work. And now he's rejoining the team. So we have some hope again for Corey.
Apparently they couldn't get it done without him, but he's so useful. Or
he's the only
integral.
one who can build this car up again after the explosion.
Yeah.
We cut to commercial. We come back, and Quaid is talking about Moore. He's complaining how this is the third time Moore has forced him to alter his plans. This is episode 4. This is the third time. So one time, he didn't do anything.
No, everything went according to plan.
Everything went exactly as planned. So he's having this conversation, which is great because he's doing it over like the open chest of a robot where he's working on like the gizmos of a robot. And you actually see him put like one of those tiny
mini tape deck.
Mini tape decks, like the kind you put in an old answering machine. He puts it into the robot. I'm like, oh, that's how the tapes work. That's cool.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that.
Well, no, but so was I. It's one of the few times you actually see a robot on a show about robots. I don't care about these race car drivers or these singers. Show me a robot.
Quaid's plan this time is not to kill Moore, but I guess to convince Moore to work with him.
Yeah, it's weird. Is this where John shows up at the caravan?
He
thing?
basically, he's like, I'm going to convince John to come work with me because I don't like how he bothers me all the time. So you know how he sends out signals and Oppenheimer picks up when he sends the robots? Yeah. He basically just sends a fake signal out so that Oppenheimer can find it and say, John, quickly, there's a signal.
He calls him on his car phone.
Yeah, he calls him on his car phone as he's driving around into the phone.
Yeah.
So John drives out to a bus in a field that inside is actually a very cool office bus.
Yes, but it's the... Maybe I didn't understand it, but I thought none of this scene made sense. So what happens, and jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. He goes in, John's like, I found you, and then Quaid's like, no, I wanted you to come, blah, blah.
I want you to work with me, yeah.
And then John's like, never. Quaid turns around and hits like a button or something, and then it explodes, and John gets out, and he's like, but he's fine. And I'm like, but what? Like, did Quaid just kill himself? Like... But he didn't. It doesn't make any... But the way it was cut, like, I didn't understand what was happening.
Oh, I did get it when I was watching it. But yeah, Quaid has sent out a robot that looks like him, along with a robot who looks like everyone who was with him from the earlier scene.
Oh, my
into
gosh.
a bus identical to the ones you've seen earlier. So
Oh,
basically,
it wasn't because they didn't explain that at all. And also, they never say back, "Oh, that was a robot that blew up."
well, they cut back to Quaid after it explodes. He's just like, well, it was worth a try.
That's what I didn't understand. But they never said it was. I just thought it was a really bad edit.
It was all a ploy. He basically sent out a robot version of himself to make this offer to John to get him there.
What a waste
And then
of
he was
time.
just gonna blow up John. But like, it's so dumb.
But the only saving grace of this whole stupid sequence that doesn't mean anything, is just to waste time, is that John comes back, and Pam's actually upset.
She's
because
upset. He almost died.
She almost died, so she's crying a little bit, and he just starts like making fun of her because she's crying.
I wrote down like John is a huge dick.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't remember what he says. He's like, "What are you crying?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's crying. She's upset about that you might have died. Why are you making fun of her?"
Like, she just saw you barely jump out of a bus. A good friend of hers, although I don't know why, you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, he's an ass.
But yeah, he just starts making fun of her for being worried about him.
Yeah.
It's insane. This
Yeah.
characterization of our hero is insane.
Who do you like more, Jake Cardigan or John Moore?
Oh, Jake Cardigan.
Yeah, you know what? So do I.
Like, I am starting to realize we had a good
I
with
know.
Tekor.
I feel the same way. I can't believe like Tekor was a better time than Beyond Westworld.
Oh.
And Tekworld is not good.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that some more in a bit. But we go back to the racetrack now. I'm gonna skip a bunch of stuff because it's not.
They just walk down the track and a car comes to hit them.
almost hits them. It's
stupid.
another red herring. Oh, is that on purpose or was that just one of our employees who can't drive?
yeah.
Moore actually tells Corey, he's like, oh, we're here. We're looking at your crew because we think one of them's been replaced by a robot. This is the first he's ever heard about robots. And this is actually the first time they explicitly say that they were replacing people with robots.
Yes.
So what happens to the people they replace?
I assume they just murder them.
Yeah, that's my assumption too.
With the exception of Pam that one time. They didn't murder her.
Moore doesn't seem to care about all these murdered people. Like, he finds the robots that have been replacing people. He doesn't report it to the police. He doesn't tell anyone.
He's a robot investigator, not a human investigator.
Not
He doesn't care
his
about
job.
He doesn't care about those skin jobs. He only cares about robots. That's what he calls humans. John calls humans skin jobs.
Skin jobs.
I just decided that.
That's good.
Thanks.
Your fan fiction is going to be great.
Yeah.
John Moore, RI, versus the skin jobs.
Come on, robot, give me a skin job.
Oh, God.
That's good, huh? Let's work on this.
All right, after the show. They've decided, because they have to win this race, and Corey is in a wheelchair now, that his fiance and daughter to the patriarch of the company, Diane Lyon, should drive in the race. Because, as Corey puts it, she's going to do it because have you ever tried to convince a liberated woman there's something she can't do?
Yeah.
And
then
they all-
Pam makes a comment.
They all have a good laugh at the idea of a liberated woman.
Yeah, I know. And then Pam's like, he learned that lesson already or something like that. And he's just like, oh, women are insufferable.
The gender politics of the show are out of control.
They're bad. They're bad.
They're out of control.
Yeah. I have a feeling this was even borderline offensive in 1980.
It's
Like, I think people were
it's-
rolling their eyes.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. But of course, don't worry. If you thought a woman was going to drive a car,
She's not.
don't. Corey immediately takes the driving away from her because he's built the clumsiest hand controls that he can barely use himself.
I know. They have the guy showing how he drives, but instead of just having a wheel that has, maybe an accelerator or something on it with a button, he just creates a thing that still pushes the pedals. It's like, why would you do that? That's way more, like, through 4 buttons.
Yeah, he has to take his hands off the wheel in order to accelerate or brake.
But he tells his fiance, sorry, sweetheart, you're a woman. Everyone knows that your ovaries don't allow you to drive very well. You're out, I'm in. And he ends up, old half man drives
and she's
the car.
so happy about it. She's just like,
I know, she's fine with it.
Thank God you're going to do it. I'm like, oh my God.
I thought she did pretty well.
She was doing fine.
I know.
It's so absurd. It's race day now. Oppenheimer's decided to show up. He gives a scan, like a very quick scan of the car, finds another bomb in it.
Yeah.
Like, nobody looked at this car.
And they did at one point, they go to the main mechanic like, you said you looked it over. And he's like, I did. And that was his only thing. It's like, but you didn't find the bomb?
You didn't find this bomb in the car?
But there's a secondary bomb, though, to be fair.
Well, this is the whole point of them finding one bomb, plot-wise, is a couple of the crew guys get in a fight about who missed the bomb that was in the car. which lets one of the crew guys get mad that he was being accused of this, and he quits because he's also the robot. Like they're like, also I'm the robot, but you don't know that.
Then he goes. So that robot.
He walks across the track,
goes to find the other drivers. Like, hey, can I have a word with you? The guy's like, sure. Goes in, clearly kills the guy, and then puts on his outfit. And no one seems to think that's weird. No one goes, you don't look anything like that guy.
That other driver.
But he has goggles on, so that was it.
He just gets in the car, and the race is on. The race that consists of 2 cars. There are not any more than 2 cars in this race.
I think, though, to be fair, why there'd be an audience for this, I don't know. And it's obviously an audience that's nowhere to be seen because in all the wide shots, there's no audience, but they keep cutting to this audience that's
just stock footage
of an audience, like at a basketball game or something. Anyway, I think it's fine there's only 2 cars because they'd mentioned they're trying to prove that this car is faster than a normal sort of race car. So they're doing a sort of one-on-one test. What doesn't make sense, though, is immediately into the race, it's clear this is not going to be a normal race because the robot's trying to...
Well, I'm gonna argue this for 1 second.
Okay.
This is a real race because, spoiler alert, he wins the race. And they cut... At the final scene of this is them reading a newspaper post-race. And it says that Corey has won the Daytona 500.
Oh, really? Oh, I withhold all my objections, and you're right.
So the race we are watching is theoretically the Daytona 500. It's on the same track they've been practicing on this whole time.
Right.
And there are only 2 cars in it.
Well, maybe it's in the future.
Maybe it's a few weeks later.
Yeah. Anyway.
Fair enough.
Anyway, the thing is about this race.
This race is going on. They're worried Quaid still has another plan.
Yeah.
They don't know the robots in the other car racing against Corey.
But they're not normal racing. He's like trying to smash the other car stuff. Like you would think they go, okay, guys, stop the race.
Yeah,
but no one does. They just keep going.
Aggressive.
It's like it reminds me of there was an old episode when I was a kid of Inspector Gadget, and Inspector Gadget is in a race car, and Dr. Claw's another one, and Dr. Claw's pulling out like old things, and they're cutting up the tires and lasers and stuff, and it's like, stop the race. This guy's got lasers going on.
That can't be regulation.
Yeah.
There are no rules in racing.
That was for all the Inspector Gadget fans out there.
I remember that episode.
Do you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. As soon as you started describing it, I could picture it in my mind.
I always wanted Dr. Claw to win. Always.
No, there's a robot.
Hey, you're right. He was a robot, and he didn't. I'm sure he used. What did he use? His long neck or something that to help win? I'm sure he used something.
Yeah. He had all kinds of great gadgets on him. Was he a robot, or was he like a man's brain put into a robot?
He was
body?
a human police officer or private or something that was, I assume, horribly disfigured and brought back to life like RoboCop with robotic body parts. They didn't ever show the suffering. I think he became like an alcoholic and he had a lot of problems.
Yeah, that was just after the show. Yeah. You don't see that. But you're right. Just like Inspector Gadget, the robot's trying to crash into Corey. Because, as Oppenheimer discovers, because he finds a paint chip or something on the ground, the robot has painted Corey's car with magnesium paint, which will explode if another car hits it.
Yeah. Of course it does. Why not?
So it's the bomb is a paint job on the car.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sure.
How this helps him get the patent on that engine?
I know. Well, none of this makes sense. None of this helps him get the patent.
I have no idea. At any rate, John, knowing this, suddenly realizes, obviously the robot who's trying to hit the car that's trying to hit my friend has a robot in it. He runs and steals another stock car that's just laying
sitting
around.
There, yeah.
Is as good a driver, chases them around the track.
Well, here's the thing. We've seen that John is an expert mechanic. He's an expert race car driver. He knows how to use a submarine.
He can tie an ascot.
Yeah, he can tie a mean ascot.
Yeah. And essentially John somehow maneuvers the robot off the road and it crashes in a fiery explosion.
Yeah.
He saves the day. And that's it. That's
and the episode ends really quickly.
Stops. It's just like, they cut back to the office and they're reading the paper how he won the Daytona 500 and I was like, what?
And that was it. Another boring episode with another abrupt ending.
Another boring, abrupt ending. I mean, we'll get into some closing thoughts about these episodes here, but I gotta say, Beyond Westworld fatigue has set in super hard in these 2 episodes.
I agree. I actually we mentioned it earlier, but
looking back fondly on
I look back more fondly on Tech World. Tech Ward? I think I called it Tech World earlier.
That's the comics.
Tech World. Anyways, Tech War. Sorry if I called it Tech World. That's how fond I remember it. But yeah, it at least had moments that were so silly. They were kind of fun. Now, obviously, they were few and far between, and it was not a great show itself. But Beyond Westworld's so boring.
The episodes were at least weird and divergent.
And it never went. It never made sense, but it never went where you thought it was going to go. At least on this show, it's just like, I'm always like, that guy's the robot. Or even worse, who is that person? He's the robot? Oh, yeah, because we never introduced that character ever.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. He's got red glasses.
He's the robot now. I mean, it really speaks to, I'm going to bring up another point you brought up earlier anyway, but the plots of these 2 episodes are almost identical to the plots of the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, get a nuclear bomb or steal oil.
Yeah.
Or an engine.
So I assume the 5th episode will be something similar.
Back to nuclear bombs, I think. Or maybe they'll combine them.
Yeah. Nuclear oil.
Nuclear oil. Now we're talking.
Yeah. There's a race car running on nuclear oil. That they have that
a band is playing inside.
The band's playing, and but they have a big debt that needs to get paid off. So Quaid buys the debt ahead of time. There's the episode done.
Write it up.
And then what's his face makes fun of Pam for being a woman, and fun little quip and theme music.
Well, there are 3 writers in the next episode, so
really?
We're in for a lot of good stuff, I think. All right, you want to rate these bad boys? What do you want to give our first episode? What was that called?
The music one?
Sound of Terror, which makes no sense.
I give it a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. It's a 2.
Oh, nice. This is the thing. I know I have the ability to give a low score, but I don't do it, and then I get very excited when you do. Like, I'm like, I can't believe he did it. I wish I had that ability.
All right, The Lion.
I'm going to give it a 5.5. I liked it a little bit better, if simply because I didn't have to hear singing every 3 seconds.
1.
Oh, again, I'm so excited. Holy moly, you give it a 1.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. I hated it so much.
It wasn't a 1 out of 10.
Oh, man, so bad.
Although I did make the mistake. I watched both episodes in one day, and that was a lot. That was a lot of Beyond Westworld.
I did that with the last 2, and you're right, it is a lot. I like I said, Beyond Westworld fatigue set in super hard for me.
Yeah, I'm glad that the last episode is the last episode. 5 episodes is more episodes than this show needed.
Yeah, it's a mercy for us that it's almost over.
Yeah.
All right, well, on that note, we'll come back next week, watch the last one. Maybe it'll surprise us, but probably not.
Probably not. But at least there's only one more.
In the meantime, if you want to talk Beyond Westworld with us, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com or check out the Twitter or Instagram at continuumdrag. Jordan does amazing work putting up some very great video and photo content on there. So I
do better work there than I do on the actual podcast.
Yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. It's good. It's good stuff. We'll just phase the podcast out and just be an
just put up fun pictures. Yeah,
that's all we need. Well, thanks for joining us, Jordan. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. See you then. Continuum Drag is recorded at Astrolab Studios in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rick Seidler. Produced by Jordan Delick and Luke Black. Special thanks to Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Emily Carter, and Dwayne Wright.